Hi, this is A New Nigeria with Wale Oluwade. This is your current affairs program where we critically examine the strategic issues bedeviling Nigeria's developmental aspirations and boldly offer practical suggestions on building the Nigeria of our collective desires. Today's episode promises to be engaging and exciting. My guest is already here to assist me in doing justice and also give depth and clarity to the topic of our discourse. It's going to be evidence-driven, honest, bold, and a no-holds-barred conversation. So get ready as we begin in earnest. And now, let's get on with it. Today, we're looking at the 2023 elections, the imperatives for a people-centered governance. This is the part 2 of what we started last week. Since the Fourth Republic commenced in 1999, the annual budgets of the federal and statistic state governments have consistently been heavily weighted, almost 70% to 30% in favor of recurrent expenditure, leaving next to nothing for critical infrastructure and social projects. The little that is earmarked for this is sadly either stolen, squandered, or both. An examination of our annual recurrent expenditure indicates trillions of naira is expended on items that are, well, just stating it as it is, sheer waste, frivolities, and blatant corruption. For example, the purchase of extremely expensive, top-of-the-range Japanese and German SUVs, the maintenance of the Presidential Airfleet, charter jets for governors, ministers, and the National Assembly leadership, the obscene benefits and allowances of personnel of MDAs, the security votes, fuel subsidy, foreign travels, and so on. All of these by public officials. So, how do we make this democracy actually work for Nigerians? How, indeed, do we ensure the resources of Nigeria is deployed to provide the much-needed critical services such as quality and affordable education, healthcare, decent housing, and the creation of jobs to most Nigerians, and not deployed to the sustenance of a handful of elected and appointed government officials? How do we ensure at 2023 election cycle we elect candidates who understands the role of government and are ready to be patriotic in the responsible allocation and the judicious use of our resources? These are some of the issues we're examining today. We'll take this short break, and when we return, we'll get right into the conversation. Please stay with us. My guest is already here, and a brief introduction. Professor Yusuf Ali Zoaka is the professor of political science, Department of Political Science and International Relations, Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Abuja. You are welcome, Prof.
Thank you so much.
Nice to have you again.
Thank you.
How is good to see you?
Thanks. Nice seeing you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Now, there's this. There are some pictures all over the media space concerning governors having meetings in the United Kingdom and other countries of the world. To discuss national issues pertaining to Nigeria, but they left Nigeria to go have this meeting elsewhere. What do you think about that?
Well, you see, what I'm thinking, these politicians are more concerned about, getting political power. And the people are not within their own consideration. So they don't need to meet with them. So they meet among themselves to resolve their differences and see how they can continue to retain power. Because I think they are beginning to see some kind of threat, particularly from the part of the youths that are now waking up and saying that, no, we want to take back Nigeria, we want to do things. So I think they are now realigning their forces to ensure that, they don't lose out, in the 2023, elections. Yeah.
Maybe I should give more context. I don't know whether you watch movies. I love to watch movies. It's I love sports, and I love to also watch movies, amongst other recreational activities. Yeah. When I see these governors, the way they travel, like the last time I saw them came back from UK, they came out of their private jets, and the way the 4 governors were walking, it reminded me of a movie, Men in Black. The main actor was Will Smith and one other guy, the swagger, the pride, and all of that, Even President Obasanjo, when in his first term he was able to get us debt relief of $18 billion US. I didn't see such arrogance. I didn't see it. You know, so, I mean, what informs this attitude? Do they think what they are doing, that it is normal to leave Nigerian shores to go have a meeting elsewhere, not a bilateral meetings of, you know, Nigeria and other country, meeting that relates to Nigerian issues? They go outside the country, they're spending money, even the cost of going there. I mean, the hotels, the food they ate, everything, the room they slept. Can you speak to this, Prof?
It's about their interest. Their own interest actually is not that of promoting Nigeria, but promoting themselves.
But I'm even saying, Prof, that do they even care about how observers feel? Do they think what they're doing is the best practice? Okay, maybe, do you see British, you know, politicians, MPs going to America to go have meetings? Not that they're meeting with American counterparts or Japanese coming to other places.
You see, what these people are doing, if you look at it very carefully, you will see that the arrogance of power, you know, we are in power and you can do nothing.
Nothing.
And so we use the resources the way we like. Because they are not spending their private or, you know, their own personal income. It's state resources that are being wasted, you know, on most of these jamborees, going out to go and plan. You don't see any country doing that. How many third world countries even engage in that, that they will leave their countries? I think it's just this Nigerian thing, that, you know, we are rich, we are powerful, most of these people actually took the resources from the states. It's not as if it's their own, you know, hard work that has brought, you know, that they now are able to make all this income for themselves. But they are able to, because you have a lousy security system that allows you to have security votes, which you don't account to anybody, you know, you don't give any account to anybody. It's something that you dispense the way you like. And so part of it is that you can keep it for yourself and then flaunt this wealth on the faces of the people, and they can do nothing because you have already weaponized poverty. Exactly. Poverty is so fierce within the society. Exactly. We are the capital poverty of the world, and they are not concerned about that. You only hear about programs, we want to remove 100 million people. How are they going to do it? Nobody tells you. Is it by giving handouts of 5,000, 10,000 and remove people from poverty? No. You have to sit down, plan, create jobs, and then get people to be working so that you can grow the economy. And then, of course, you can say you are removing people. But they're not ready to do that.
Interesting, Prof. Interesting. So this attitude of this all-conquering triumphalism that you see, I mean, it's really mind-blowing in your view.
You can't do anything.
Anything.
That's just what I'm just telling you.
Now, Prof, the governance priorities of our elected government officials have been a serious conundrum, you know, to me. And I suppose it must certainly be a case study for scholars such as yourself, you know. Because how do you justify a country that doesn't have money to provide qualitative and affordable education? You're an academic from the ivory tower. The universities have been shut down for months now. ASU just decided that, you know, it's going to be an indefinite. And federal government has said clearly, they don't have money to pay, you know. So we don't have money for ASU to care for maternal and infant health care. We don't have money for such. But then we have money, you know, trillions of naira. You know, we have to pay. If you go to revenue generating agencies, Inland Revenue, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Central Bank, NNPC, and all whatnot, you need to see the obscene sums that are being paid out as allowances, benefits to personnel in the same country that we don't have money to pay for basic education for Nigerians. How do you, what do you think? Does it make sense to you?
How can it make sense? You see, when you have people who, they themselves benefited from public, you know, education. Without this public education,
will they have gotten to
they will have been what? What would they have been in the society? They would have been nothing. You see, but here you have a situation whereby people now get into government. You see, because it's really unfortunate that we have political leaders. They are leaders by virtue of the fact that they were elected into certain positions. It's not as if they were leading in any aspect of their lives before joining politics. And that's why, and that's the problem. We expect a lot from these political leaders, and they are not leaders. Simply because somebody is elected governor and he doesn't have any idea what he will use the state to do. You say you expect him to do something. He is not able to do anything with all the resources placed under his own custody. All he will do is just to look for ways that he can, you know, corner those resources for his own private, you know, use. And that is what you are finding with most of these. You know, you have some A-rate, you know, agencies of government where they pay, you know, new entrants, salary of a professor, even more than that of a professor. Exactly. Because a professor doesn't end up to 500,000, it's 416,000. And some have been on this 416,000 naira for 20 years.
Wow.
And that's what they will retire with, 416,000. When they went to add, you know, we discussed with them, you know, the condition of service, and they agreed, you know, to some certain things. They jettisoned that and now decided to award us, is it 60,000, 50,000 naira for professor. At the terminal rate, that means when you add it to your 416, you are going to be collecting 476,000.
Wow. Wow.
And that is what they are probably giving,
Wow.
which is not what even a fresh graduate produced from university, working in Communication Commission, NNPC, Central Bank, all those organizations get at the end of the month. Apart from, you know, the allowances they collect during all public holidays, and of course when the year is ending, some of them they even pay them 13th month, you know, and give them all sorts of bonuses and allowances. You know, but our priority is not education. Why? Because if the people are enlightened, they will understand, you know, their left from their right. It's really unfortunate that, you know, you find a lot of graduates, you know, people that you expect that should know that, look, without this public, you know, education, some of them would have, you know, even gotten these degrees if they are privatizing the institution.
Let me ask you, Prof, as an academic in the ivory tower, like I said earlier, I mean, ideally, the ivory tower is where research and development that will move the nation forward. Ideas, you know, results, research ideas should be churned out, you know, to improve the lot of the society, you know. But here you are suffering the ignominy of being treated so shabbily, with so much disdain by elected officials who themselves, like you said now, passed through same public institutions from primary, secondary, university. Does it make sense to you that, I mean, Nigeria, you know, Nigerians generally can tolerate this level of debasement of our educational system? Can we build a nation without a virile education system?
In fact, if you read some of the comments of some people on social media, some of us will just say, look, maybe ASU is just trying to waste its time. Even though we know what they are trying to do is to ensure that, you know, the children of the poor will have access, you know, to education at the university level. Some people are saying, no, it's not everyone that should go to university. Okay, not everyone should go to university. Have you even provided skill acquisition centers where those ones you think don't need to go to university can acquire skills and take care of their lives? You have not done anything like that. Because in most countries, if you take the Chinese, for instance, they were able to convert about 600 universities to polytechnics. And they haven't run away from all that and now concentrating on skill acquisition centers. And they will open thousands of those centers just to ensure that, you know, citizens have skills that will lead them to have their own, they can create employment for themselves. Here you are in a country where electricity is not even available. Where it is even available is at very high cost. You can't, the price of fuel now, the crude is virtually being stolen. And we had the naval commander saying, those in charge of it are the ones stealing it. And yet they will come to you and tell you that these churches, mosques and so on, people just, I mean, they are so used to, you know, taking this revenue for themselves. So what they are telling you is you can go to hell. That's what they are telling you as a citizen. We are no longer citizens. We are now like slaves. They are the citizens. We are slaves to them.
I mean, let me put this right out to the question and to your statement that I'm afraid really for Nigeria. Part of the fear is government seems to me to be achieving their objective. The strategy of government is to ignore ASU, you know, and then, you know, work on the psyche of Nigerians. You know, maybe, you know, eventually Nigerians will turn against ASU, and I see that already. Now, if the argument is that not everybody should go to university, I believe that. But that decision is not for government to make.
Yes.
It is the decision of the individual.
Yeah.
But let me ask you pointedly, can you build a great nation that will compete with the other nations of the world without the people having basic education, meaning primary, secondary education?
You cannot.
So if you cannot, what is the state of our primary and secondary school in Nigeria? What is the state? In your own assessment?
Most of them have actually collapsed. You see primary schools, you have UBEC that are supposed to be having some counterpart funding with states. Even in some of the states that people are bragging that this state is advanced, is having largest economy, you find schools without, there are no roofs, no classrooms, so to say.
You see the pictures everywhere.
You see the pictures. People inside, a very meshy area with a waterlogged area inside the water.
Yes.
studying because they are determined they want to learn.
No blackboard, no
nothing.
Even the teachers. I mean, is it Kaduna State where Nasir El-Rufai is having a running battle with so-called teachers because he did a basic test for so-called teachers? How many thousands of them failed?
Good. If they fail, can't they be retrained? Can't you retrain them? Have you even been retraining them? Because this teaching is not something that you just do without training and retraining.
In addition to what you said about teachers who failed and then were they retrained, I mean, I think, it speaks to the value our elected officials have for teaching, because I know teaching to be a profession. Am I wrong?
Yeah, it is.
Teaching is a profession.
Yes.
But if professors, old professor, a professor nearing retirement, if everything he earns is 416,000, what does a principal, talk less of a teacher, what do they earn? So because I realize, correct me if I'm wrong, people go into teaching not because they are teachers, not because they want to teach, but because there's no jobs.
No,
and that's why I'm asking you, Prof. What in your you're a scientist, you're a social scientist, a political and social scientist. Is something wrong with us that we don't seem to appreciate that we're playing with the future of Nigeria?
You see, if you want to destroy a country, destroy the foundation, which is education. Once you destroy education, that's the end. The country will fizzle out into the thin air. So people, you see, this country is blessed with enormous resources, both material and human. And people are not interested in the human resources. They are concentrating on the mineral
resources.
And a lot of illegal mining and bunkering, all sorts of things going on in the country, to the extent that the country is not generating enough revenue. So that the government officials will come and tell you that they're not generating enough revenue. Why wouldn't they be able to? If you're able to block all the loopholes through which revenue is coming in, take NNPC. How much have they been able to remit to the Federation account in the past years? And yet, you see, people went on strike, you say, no work, no pay. Because you define the work of the academic as just teaching. He does other things, community service. He does other things, research. All these things are still going on. If not so, by the time you just say, okay, you're on strike, you go and sleep. By the time you wake up to go back to classroom, what will you go and teach the students? Okay. The society is dynamic. Knowledge itself is dynamic. You have to be reading constantly. You can't just rely on old knowledge and say you want to go and teach. So I think it's the priority. We don't have the right priorities, and that is why we're having problems. Some primary school teachers, one even posted her pay, in Borno State, 7,000 naira. That's what she earned for a month, 7,000 naira.
Prof, let's go on this short break. We'll take this short break, and when we come back, we'll conclude with Professor Yusuf Ali Zwaka. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Now, Prof, let's round up. Let me ask these two questions, and then maybe you take it in just about 2 minutes. We've spent trillions of naira, well over 10 trillion, on defense and security, and rather than the insecurity situation abate, it's gotten worse. And I thought a responsible government, a wise government, will have invested a huge sum of that in creating industries and all of that, gainful employment for our youth, but we've not done that. Please, can you speak to Nigerians, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, to our government people? How do we resolve this, get responsible leaders that will make governance, the needs of the people, the priority for next year? What do you tell Nigerians, Prof?
I think we should look very critically at the programs of the political parties. We are not a capitalist, so to say, country that have all the indices that will make an economy to stand
on its own.
We are not there. So the state has to play a big role, in trying to stimulate and actually point the direction. So we cannot be going neoliberal in everything we are doing and think that we can't develop using those those things that the World Bank, IMF,
the prescriptions and all of that.
They're asking us to do. So we must, we have to spend more, most of this. But then, I think we should look more into some of the processes, institutions, and structures that we have in place that are not really working towards realizing most of the goals that we have. Because if you go and look at it, the quantum of funds going into ministries, departments, and agencies of government, what are these funds really meant for? What are they being used for? Are they being used just to, because you find I was shocked when some years back, I was looking at the budget of our department. And I discovered that there was an item they were budgeting for divers. Divers, not drivers, divers. I said, do you have swimmers in this department? Political science department. And this budget will go through from the department to university to NUC to Ministry of Education to National Assembly, and will be passed that you have divers. And we don't have any such personnel. So
what should we be looking at in the character and competence of the candidates at the various states next year? What should we look out for?
We should look for people who are, who have an austere life. Austere life. That's to say they have self-discipline. We should avoid people who love flamboyance. All those flamboyant people, avoid them, because what they will bring is more flamboyance, nothing more. Or when they do a small project, they gather the whole country to go and commission. Nonsense. A leader who is, austere, who will concentrate on lifting the quality of life of the people. Somebody who is more interested in human capacity development. That's the kind of person we should be looking at. Not people who just love flamboyance, who will telling you they are this and that. No, those type of people we should, as much as possible, avoid them. And we should look through the candidates.
Let me ask you this, as we round up, Prof, very briefly, please. Can Nigeria maintain a presidential air fleet? A president maintaining an air fleet going all over the place. Can Nigeria maintain that? Should governors be chartering private jets?
Is that necessary? You see, the thing is that if you are prudent, okay, fine. So if you go and join a commercial plane, does it reduce your
status,
or does it increase the arrival time, or it reduce the number of minutes you spend, traveling? If the journey is 6 hours, it will still
but
be
they
6
say
hours.
Nigeria is a big country that we're such a big country.
So we should be wasting resources? No. We should channel our resources to, that when you maintain all these fleets, you travel around with them and so on. Are you thinking of people who are not able to get potable water to drink? Do you think about those
100 million people living in extreme poverty.
Do you think about them? You don't think about them when you are living
Prof,
like that.
we have to go.
Sorry.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you
for coming. I appreciate you. And that's the end of the interview segment. We'll take this short break and I'll come with my closing statements. Please stay with us. Welcome back. And here are my closing statements. Governments are the elected or appointed representatives of the people of a given nation, state, or community. And this exists solely to deliver shared services to the people within their jurisdictions. The role of government isn't to create a fiefdom for a few elites or upper class of citizens who devour the nation's resources while the majority scavenge for leftovers. Sadly, this has been our reality in Nigeria. If this democracy must deliver for the majority of Nigerians going forward, I present sample of a questionnaire from my 7-step assessment fitness criteria on the suitability of presidential, governorship, and legislative candidates in next year's election. Now, this fitness criteria consists of different questions under the following subheads. Number 1, moral fitness. 2, physical fitness. 3, mental fitness. 4, psychological fitness. 5th, leadership fitness. 6th, governance fitness. And 7th, social/political fitness. Now, this is basically a practical process, and its application is quite simple. The objective of any such interaction must be to ask specific questions on their suitability and preparedness to lead, and also to proffer practical ideas on solving critical national issues. The objective must not be about asking them to make bland and meaningless general speeches. For instance, on moral fitness, the psychological fitness, and this is very interesting, ask them what is their understanding of life, fulfillment, wealth, and how much money do they think an individual need for a comfortable life? Do they believe in the primitive accumulation of wealth? What is their opinion on those who plunder the nation's wealth? Will they support payment of life pensions for ex-elected officers? Now, should public officials profit materially from serving in government? You need to ask them these questions. Also, which is more important, buying expensive SUVs for the comfort of just about 100 government officials, or paying for the education of 100 Nigerian children? Again, Who are their role models in leadership? And what do these candidates, what do they want to be remembered for as their legacy in government? Another fitness criteria on leadership. Ask them, what is their understanding of leadership? What do they think leadership entails? Ask them again, is being a political leader a right or privilege? Ask them, do they believe in the right of Nigerians to know what the government is doing? Ask them what informs their decision-making, process. Ask them again, what is the criteria for their team composition? Now, the foregoing is just a teaser, in my opinion, and it is a positive step towards getting our leadership selection right in 2023. Hitherto, we have been negligent in this strategic assignment. We must, all Nigerians, say, in the light of our current realities, never again. Getting elected into political offices is a serious business, and it must be attended to as such. Those who get into public offices where decisions which impact directly on life and death choices are made must be the best among us. We cannot, going forward, allow persons of doubtful personal character and leadership pedigree seize our government apparatus, because the consequences, as we can see with our current tragic situation, are there with long-term deleterious effects. On this program, we owe it a sacred duty to inform you on why it is important to ensure we get our leadership selection process right. Remember, change requires action, and positive change requires positive action. I believe in a new Nigeria, and it is possible. And those are my closing thoughts. That's the program for today. Remember to follow me on my different social media handles. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can watch this video and the others that are there. Drop your comments also. I'd love to hear from you. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.